Hello, hello, and welcome to How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast with one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and my fabulous guest this week is none other than Danielle, also known as Danny Solo. Hello, Danny.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Better for seeing you. It's been a couple of weeks since we got to be in our campaign together.
I know I'm missing it.
It's terrible. I mean, no one needs Christmas and New Year's. Like, come on, there's campaigns to be ran.
Fob it off.
Bob it
No
off.
Yule tides.
Well, today's topic, I'll let you introduce. But you play in a mad amount of sessions, don't you?
Yeah, so today's topic is player's experience. And I just got the bug. So I play in I think 8 or 9 campaigns at the moment, which is pretty ridiculous.
Insane. Well, with that, let's get to it. Okay, so today's topic is player experiences with Danny. Player experiences, something I wouldn't understand because I've never had the confidence to talk to a woman. Danny, how far can a woodchuck chuck wood? Are we too hung up on the ability to mispronounce his doings rather than the distance this critter can throw? What am I doing?
I think we are too hung up on it, to be honest. I think everyone
Hmm.
just gets in their own mind about it, and we're not really appreciating his abilities to the fullest.
I mean, we've literally named him after the thing he's good at, and we've ignored it. We're
Put
ignoring
him
it.
in a box. He
Yeah, we
lives in
put
a
him.
box.
Yeah, and also, do you know what? How dare people say he? It could be they, could be a she. Like, just to assume that this animal is somehow continuing to live. Um,
He might want to be a barista.
would be anything they want. Right, to the real questions. Even though that did take me a year to write that question. Why did you first start playing D&D? What made you try it?
So I've always known of it, but I never really knew. I think like most people, I knew it was kind of like a role play based game, but I didn't really know how you play it, where you play it, all kind of like the ins and outs. And it was actually my best friend that I worked with at the time. Her and her other half were like, "Oh, we want to play D&D, but we need other people to play it with. You guys are nerdy.
So it
Do
was
you even?"
pity. It was
Pretty
pity.
much, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I was
yeah,
just
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
be a good friend.
Charity work. Charity work.
Yeah. Um, so basically, me and her, we worked in like central London, and we were like, cool, we need to put like a campaign together. We need to like find a dungeon master. And at the time, there was kind of like nowadays we've got like RPG Tavern and all these kind of places that like run games for us. But
Mm.
when we were looking, there was no one doing that. So we were literally on like subreddits just trying to find strangers to like run
Hey
games
kids, want
for
to come
us.
play D&D?
I was like, we are going to end up dead if we continue down this path. So maybe let's, get off Reddit and just one of us run it. So I basically went home, guilt tripped my husband, and was like, here's the starter set. Do you want to run for us? So he had never played and he literally went straight into DMing, which
So sorry to interrupt you. So there's two of you who are like scouring the internet in a time where like people aren't running it in person, and then you go to someone who has had no interest in this whatsoever and go, "You will DM this."
yeah, pretty much. I
Amazing.
was just like, you play Warhammer, therefore that's relevant. It
Yeah,
has
yeah.
no relevance, but I
There's a
was just
table
like,
involved.
yeah, sure. Oh yeah, side note as well. So we worked opposite one of like the big Apple stores in London, and we were talking to a client that had come in because it became our whole lives before we'd even started playing it. And we were like, "Oh, we're looking for a dungeon master." And she was like, "Oh, there's someone in Apple that like runs games." I legitimately walked into the shop asking for the person that was the DM, and like the staff were just like, um, no, we're not just gonna
No.
tell you."
They would have charged you like they would have sat out back for 20 minutes, charged you 80 quid and said you have to wait for 3 weeks before they can
Yeah,
tell you who it is.
exactly. But yeah, so now my husband ended up running our first game for us, and I got the bug.
That was it. That was it. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. And I have briefly met your husband, and fair play for him to just jump in to do that. And now, if I'm right, I'm thinking he actually runs a campaign himself. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, he does. He runs one kind of like bi-weekly
Right.
on Thursdays. So that's kind of like the other campaign that I play alongside our one.
Okay.
And
All
yeah,
right.
it's very good. We done a little Christmas one shot as well, which was like 8 hours long, so that was fun.
Right. Okay. Um, is there a specific type of character that you like to play? Maybe it's as a class as well. By that I mean not like, oh, I like to pick halflings, for example, but like,
Mm.
is there a kind of personality like you're drawn to when you're picking? Like, what makes you go, I'm gonna make a new character for this?
I think this is quite common when you get into role playing as well. I kind of have this mindset that I'm going to go in and play something different to my personality. And then
Mm.
halfway through like the campaign, 2 sessions deep, I'm already myself. I find that I always tend to I'll almost like be like, oh, I want to play this like really mean character. And then on like session 3, they're baking everyone cakes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like I've already had my turnaround moment just because there was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
squirrel in a tree. Like I always play like the nice kind of like caring. And I think that's very helpful getting into it as well, is almost play what you know. Like
Mm.
I now can play those kind of meaner characters and get away with it. But when you first start playing D&D, I think there's nothing wrong in playing yourself or playing, someone that brings out the attributes of yourself that come naturally. I don't think it's always got to be that you create this like person that's completely different from you. It can just be you as an elf, you as a halfling,
Mm.
and vice versa.
I think that's a really good tip. There's so many times I've played in sessions, whether that's DMing or just playing. Usually, if I'm playing, which is rare these days, but then that group of people are new to me because I'm in it. The fact I'm playing means I must be with new people,
Mm,
and there's quite often someone who is probably new to the game and they'll be playing something so opposite to them, and it comes across that way, not because I've just met them and that's different, but like it feels quite try-hardy, and not as in to put them down, but like you can tell they actually don't know what the outcome could be from making that
mm,
decision, or do you know what I mean? Like they haven't thought about
100%.
it that far through. They've just thought
Mm.
about the fact that it's different to what they would usually do.
You're kind of like not running off instincts, and I think like
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
already having to think of spells, what you're going to do, all this kind of stuff. So I think when it comes to like a moral thing, not to add an extra layer of, oh, actually, what would my character do? It's just easier to just do what you would do because that's your first thought or second thought usually.
Yeah, like I always t like treat D&D a bit like RuneScape. You know, where you're just grinding to get to the highest level. It's like you're just mining for like 4 real months, but at the end of it, you can do everything. You've got everything. It's a bit like that. I find that with trying anything, whether it's a class, it might be like new feats. It's like you have to just keep doing it to learn it. You're not going to be an expert when you jump in.
100%.
Okay, so are there any specific experiences for you that have stood out when playing?
I think there's just too many to list.
Mm.
I kind of love when those natural role playing moments just come up, like something just happens in the story that just fits perfectly with something that you thought of. Um, and I don't know, just that kind of like moment that just seems to line up perfect. I mean, it could just be the DM doing a very good job, to be honest. Um, but it's just I love those moments where you just get that moment where like this is the best possible outcome. And then it's not even necessarily a roll. Obviously, when you roll well, it's amazing. And I love those moments when like you really need an at 20 and it happens and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
table just like erupts.
We
It
call that like
literally,
super anime moment in my campaign.
yeah, I love
You get
it.
your moment, everyone just loses their shit.
Exactly. But I just love I do love combat, but I think I'm much more into like the role play element of it. But then
Mm.
I like bringing role play into combat, so
Yeah, I think we're the same, and we obviously we're in the same campaign, and we do that. We bounce off each other quite well for that. Like, well, I say quite well as if like I'm understating it. It's really good, but it's like I'm the same as you. Like you can RP as much as you want. You can do that like grind, like I was saying earlier, the RuneScape grind. But like the best bit is I think is when someone brings something to the table and you go, "Wow, I've actually know you quite well. We do this all the time." But then you've surprised me with that, and that's even more fun because I couldn't ever possibly guess. And you're thinking like all of that in a split second because you then also got to react to it to make sure that it's like it works naturally. It's got to have a flow.
yeah.
But it's definitely that's like the best bits at the table for me, I think.
Yeah. I just naturally get like a buzz off it. I know that sounds really sad.
No, no, I mean that's literally what we're talking about. I think
Yeah.
that's actually the case for a lot of people. I've played with people who really don't like RP. They're not comfortable with that. They like the maths of it. So combat is like
Mm.
their kind of thing. And then when something does surprise them in a bit of RP, or a DM will bring up an NPC that gives that player a situation who wouldn't usually be talking outside of combat, you can see sometimes on their face, where it's a bit of a Michael Scott moment, where they're a bit like looks at camera and a bit like a this kind of
What
like
do I
bewildered, like
do?
yeah, like a bit of a baby, like whoa, look at this amazing thing, and that's actually really nice to see that like that can bring them out of their shell as well.
100%.
Okay, so as a player, what kind of table of people are you chasing to play alongside? Now, I think this is like a question I'll probably ask everyone in the player experience topics, but you play so many different groups.
Yeah.
Are there you must have whittled it down now to be like, I know the kind of tone at the table I want. Like I know the kind of players that work for me. Not as in because you need to be the main character or whatnot, but there's
Yeah.
got to be sometimes there's a red flag if you're playing with a new person and you're like, right, that's probably not. How does
My
that work
vibe.
for you? Yeah.
Um, I think my biggest thing is to be engaged.
Mm.
I'm not even DMing. I kind of get a little bit annoyed when I'm at a table and someone's like on their phone and clearly not listening, and then it gets their turn and they don't know what they're doing because they haven't been thinking about it, and they're
Mm.
doing something completely different to the rest of the party, and you're like, what? I just don't get it. Why turn up? If you want to play on your own, find a
Yeah.
solo RPG.
It is that flow we were just talking about, where like they would miss that moment where what
Mm.
we're like chasing of like, I wasn't expecting that. How do I work with that? If you kind of like cut that short, but like a full stop, because you're just on your phone, then
Yeah.
there's nothing flowing, there's no magic.
It kind of takes you out of the game as well because you're just like, it just feels very, you can just feel like the disconnect, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels now like you're at a game, like
Yeah.
you're at the table. It's just it literally you don't want it to feel like it's turns.
Mm. Yeah. And I like that when you do have those groups that are all connected, like you don't need to be told it's your turn because you have been gagging for it. You
Mm.
you know who's before you, you know it what you're gonna do, and it's just you've got it already. So then when it
Yeah.
gets your turn, I love that when the DM doesn't have to sit there and go, oh, it's your turn now, kind of thing. Um, Another thing I don't necessarily like is PvP. I know it can be like a part of people's backstories and stuff, but sometimes it can, especially if it's a new group, it can feel a little bit hostile if it hasn't been kind of like
Mm.
mentioned. And I think that's really the only things that really bother me. I think other than that, I'm very happy to have anyone who wants to be there at the table,
Yeah.
basically.
Very nice, very welcoming, very well, very, very
Thanks.
sweet, very humble, very demure. Um, The next question, has there been a moment where you felt like it wasn't the group for you?
Um,
Can
I'm
you not
very
say because you're married to him, so you can't say that bi-weekly his campaign's not as fun as ours.
um I don't think there has been, to be honest. There's been a couple of times, I think, and it's not just D&D, it's everyday life. Like you're
Yeah.
always going to meet people that you don't necessarily 100% clash with. But I think I have learned at first I was quite when these like situations happened that made me uncomfortable or whatever, and it could be something tiny. I was quite shy and was like, oh, I don't really want to like stir up the pot. I've got to play a campaign with this person. I'm just gonna let it slide.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I won't do it in session because I feel like that just breaks up the element of the game. But afterwards, I would just pull that person aside and be like, look, just a heads up, that made me feel uncomfortable. If you could just, not do that again, basically. And I think you can have a chat with your DM if you don't necessarily want to have that conversation, because I know some people wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable enough to do it themselves. But I think it's very much that if you nip it in the bud early enough
Mm.
and give people chances, if they still keep doing it, then maybe it's time to walk away from the table. But if that person respects you enough, then they should at least try to change whatever it is.
I think that's really good advice because like there's so many times I see this all the time and kind of like D&D Reddit and things, or questions that actually get put in on Instagram, and it's like people not being able to confront people. I guess like the word confront always instantly makes it feel like it's an argument,
Mm.
but it's good that like you feel like you could just go over to him directly and be like, you're not even putting it on the DM to then have to have that conversation who is like second removed to how that feels.
Yeah,
Like, and you hope that the people didn't really. It would be sad that they've upset someone or offended someone and they didn't even take into account what they were doing and they just decided they were going to do it. You think they'd be conscious
100%.
enough to go, would people like if I did this? But it's hopefully nice that they can just go, oh right, yeah, sorry, I was kind of like ignorant to that.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing when you go into those conversations is never tell someone like you're in the wrong, you're this. It's
Mm.
always like I feel. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
everyone else at the table could have been fine. I'm the problem here, but I'm just bringing it to you because that's what friends do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I feel that's definitely a great way. I mean, that's advice I'll take away because everyone's wrong except me. So okay, so we are flying through these questions. Um, how does scheduling work in your current sessions?
Oh,
And
scheduling.
this isn't targeted at you because you've got like a million things, but like scheduling is like 90%. It's like the enemy of D&D.
It
How does
really
that
is.
work for you as a player?
I just try and work as far in advance as I can.
Okay.
So I do because I have so many games, we tend to do set days, which makes it easier. But then I do have a couple of campaigns where it literally is just a free for all on whatever dates everyone is free. So it's a bit of a minefield. I do have some campaigns that like if they put out I wouldn't say necessarily if I have loads of campaign like that would put out a date and then if I can't do it, they would run without me. But
Yeah.
for instance, if I booked a date and then I couldn't make it, they would run without me, which is completely fair enough. I
Okay.
think, sometimes some of my campaigns go like 2 months without a session. So,
Right.
you have to get the games in where you can.
So
Um,
it's not like perfect every time. There's like a good thing to kind of guess that's why I've got the question in here for all of these player experiences is like it's okay for a session not to go ahead or to
mhm.
miss a session or it's not okay to just miss a session and there not be a reason. Obviously,
Yeah,
that's someone's given
100%.
us time
And it's
and
always
effort.
notice. That's the biggest thing for me is like don't tell me on the morning of because then I'm gonna be in a bad mood for the rest of the day that I'm
Yes,
not
yeah,
playing
yeah.
D&D. Like tell me as far in advance as you can, then I can cry in the corner all day. It will be
Yeah.
fine. But
The,
yeah, it's just about communication. I think that's like the biggest thing in D&D is communicate everything. So like your
yes.
scheduling, all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
100%. That's such a good that's a great topic. I'm gonna Siri remember to write down that stuff. Um So going back to the sessions you play, do you have any sessions that are in person?
I do. I have, I think, one that's in
Okay.
person. I think the rest are all online.
With that
But
in-person one, if you are missing sessions, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but in my own campaign that I run, if people can't make it and it's enough people, or maybe like, you haven't had time to prep for the session that's coming up in like a week's time or whatnot, I usually say to people to come around and we order food or something. Do
mm,
you try to keep the momentum of like things going on, things happening, like people are still kind of seeing each other, so you don't. It's so easy as adults to just like you might not see your best friend for 10 years. Do
mm,
you know what I mean? It's not abnormal for that kind of thing to. So
yeah.
is that, do you have the same thing with the in person?
Yeah, I think the in-person one is probably the one because it's so big. So I've been playing it since I basically started playing D&D, so like a year and a half, 2 years ago now. Um, could be longer than that, wow. Um, but that campaign, I think we've done like 28 sessions that are all about 6 to 8 hours long. It's
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
only like we're not even halfway through the campaign. It's all like homebrew, but it has the whole thing has been written out. So it's very much with that. We do only get like 2 sessions every kind of like 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
So with that one, we will put the dates in like when we see each other, usually 2, 3 months before. And then if people can't turn up, it usually will be you can like turn up on the Skype, so the DM will like have you next to them. So if it's that you're sick or whatever and you just can't come down, but you still want to play, you're
Mm,
there, and then if not, it's usually just like you stay at the bastion kind of thing,
right.
and you're looking after something there whilst that happens. But in other games, we usually just run a one shot when people can't turn up. There's so many good resources for like quick one shots nowadays.
Mm.
That most of my campaigns, like if one person can't turn up, rather than missing out on story, we'll just do a one shot. And it's nice because you get to play something different. Usually, like whenever my groups do one shots, they'll do them at higher levels. You get to play maybe a class or something that you haven't had that ability to play at, 8th, 10th level. And it kind of just keeps things a bit fresh, which is fun.
Yeah, it's nice. You know what? I don't know why I didn't think of one shots in that when I've literally given the advice before, but yeah, it's true. My campaign group don't like one shots.
Fair.
I'll be like, oh, why don't we? No, they built their character, they're playing their character, and they'll die with that character. It's a bit, it can be gutting sometimes, but they know that. I've openly communicated this to them, and yeah, they're not involved unless it's like, what they're building is worth their time for like a
The
long
long haul.
duration. Yeah, so one shots I'm usually like being a part of as a player, I guess, rather than like getting to try something a bit different as a DM.
That must be a lot of pressure as the DM, though.
What to
Have
one
people
shot?
so attached.
It's always weird though because in my campaign, I mean it's difficult. Like there's so many homebrew rules because I want it to be an absolute sweat to play. I found D&D too easy, and I mean I'm not someone who memorizes the rules whatsoever. I mean, you play with me, I'll be like, oh, well, now I'm thinking of a different thing. I spend more time trying to think out of the box, so I'm not bored doing the same thing in combat. That it
Yeah.
ends up dragging out. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But like, it's hard. It's only hard as a DM because you can kill their character off, and they'll be like, okay, and they'll make a new character. But if you go, do you want to try something in this just new setting, and you can be like a higher level character with more cool things, and they'll be like, no, just I'll play the dead character. And you're like, okay, cool, all right. So it's just like what it is. What it is. I guess it just means there's one less thing I've got to write. But
Yeah. Well, at least they don't mind dying, because yeah,
no,
that's the
yeah, they
whole.
die so often, it's absolutely fine. So they've definitely lost the campaign. They've definitely, the thing is, there's
There are
always
no
one left.
heroes, they're all dead.
Yeah, yeah, like it ends when they've all died. But the thing is, there's always like one left. I swear, like they hold back 50 feet and just let the other, just to test the waters.
Yeah.
Okay, last question there. Oh, no, two questions left. What is the dream setting you'd love to play in?
Oh, that is a very good question. Um, ew. I think it would. I've got two answers.
Okay,
So, and they're both about anime, of course.
of course.
So one would be Demon Slayer. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that just goes without kind of saying. Yeah, just that whole world, that whole like lore that's behind everything. I
love
love.
it.
Um, so I'd very much like to play a campaign based around that or in that
Yeah.
kind of world. And I think the next one would be Vampire Hunter D, which I guess is kind of similar to Strahd because it's about
Yeah. Have you
vampires.
played Vampire Masquerade?
No, I haven't.
I mean, that's one of the kind of like TTRPGs to play. I mean, that's probably as close to it as you'll get. More so than Strahd, I think.
Fair. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, it's worth, and there's a lot of people in our community that play that, or even like create dice for it specifically, or
Send me a
yeah,
message.
I will. Yeah, outside of this, and it's the same for anyone listening. Actually, like there are so many people. If you're listening to this, there's probably someone else who listens to this who runs that thing that you're looking to play.
Yeah,
That's really cool. There's also Demon Slayer on, I think it's on Reddit. There is someone's made all of the Hashiras as classes for you to play in D&D 5e
that's very
compatible.
cool.
So it's worth just literally Googling Demon Slayer D&D. I mean, they've got them up to like 10th level or something, and it's just kind of that their breathing
Version
is
of,
their feet.
yeah,
So
very cool.
it's out there. It's out there. It's not like crazy put together, but at least you did something to work off.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'll go look.
Nice. Okay. Well, the last question then. What's one piece of advice you can give people who want to play D&D for the first time?
I think just don't really put too much on yourself. Like, just go into it open-minded. That if you're going to a table, say to people, obviously it's your first time playing, and they will facilitate the rest. They, like every table that I've been at where there's been a newcomer, people will bring extra dice. They'll make your character if you want them to, or
Mm.
sometimes they'll say, get here early and I'll make the character with you. If you kind of communicate again, I love communication. If you communicate with people, I'm sure there's people who are just happy to help. And in my case, I would be, I'll always kind of like try and find a way to get to know people at the table because, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, quite like you said with come a bit early. I feel like that is the catchphrase for a DM when dealing with a new player or even experienced players, but it's their first time together at the table. And it's so important. I mean, I know this is an episode specifically for like new players, but for DMs as well, even experienced DMs, it's like remembering that not everyone is as clued up about the world that you're
Mm,
playing in as you.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You've thought about it all, which is why you were confident enough to get people together at the table. But
yeah.
like, yeah, it's so helpful to just have like 5 minutes
Mm,
and to ask questions, even if that's like 3 months into the campaign. Like, you don't want to be sitting there blind, you know?
yeah, 100%. Um, and yeah, and I think just there are good resources out there, the Discord being one. You can find people to play with. And I think it's just if you want it to happen, just force your husband.
Yeah, that's it. All right, Siri, get married to a man. Right, okay, and with that, today's adventure has sadly come to a close. We're back again next week with the topic: Are starfish sex symbols in the wetter parts of the ocean? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at How to Play D&D or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. And also check out Black Mark Clo on Instagram for cool D&D clothing. Danny, what do you do? Where can we find you?
I play D&D. You can find me on Insta, Threads, and it's Dan Solo _666.
We'll put your links in the bio for people. You do a bit of streaming as well. You
I
do a bit of
do
streaming.
when I have time.
I mean, that's the same for everyone, right? But it's still important to note. It's still important to note. All right. Well, I don't know. I've had to look back at the notes for this. I've been Connor Kinsey. This is where you say your name.
I've been Connor Kinsey.
Oh, okay. Good day.